Hello, you're listening to No Kids, No Pain. I'm Romina Puma.
And I'm Luca Cupani, and this podcast is about the choice of being child-free.
Each week we will explore the topic of choosing not to have kids.
And we would love to hear from you too.
If you decide to be child-free,
don't feel guilty, this is the podcast for you.
And if you have kids,
here's what you're missing out.
Welcome to a new episode of No Kids, No Pain. I'm here as usual with my co-host Luca Cupani.
Hi Romina, thank you, welcome.
How are you?
I'm good, always good.
Oh, good, fabulous. So we have a new episode. As the new season dictates, we have a guest.
Another great guest. We're doing very well so far.
Yes,
we managed to have great guests.
Yeah, we have a great guest. And I would like to introduce. Can I introduce her? She's a very good friend of mine. I love her to bits. So she's a comedian, and she's a writer, and she is a coach, speaking coach. Yes, I got it right. Yes, I got it right. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mel Byron!
Oh, thank you for that amazing introduction, Romina. That was amazing.
Yeah, I nearly fucked it up.
No, which you didn't at all. And of course, and Luca's now built me up into being a great guest, capital G. So I feel like, the pressure's on me.
No.
Honestly, it's lovely to be here. Thank you.
We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so would you like to ask the first question, Luca?
Well, it's a sort of a... Yeah, well,
it's like a ticking box to be on this podcast.
We assume you don't have kids, and
children.
Maybe is it by choice? We assume.
Definitely. I knew I never wanted to have children. Thank goodness my husband also doesn't want to have them. And we didn't get married till we were in our 40s. Although we've been together for some time before that. I don't know, I might be talking out of turn here, but from his point of view, I think if he had children maybe earlier in life, maybe he would have been, because these things happen.
Yeah.
But as he hadn't had kids, I think by the time he was with me, as you get older, you don't want to change your life, and kids are disruptive. So I was 41 when I got married. So say I'd been a good girl and wanted to wait till I was married. That means that I'd have a child of say 12 or 13 now. Yeah. And to me, at my age, that feels like I really don't want to go there.
Wow, there's so much effort to look after, do the things that you need to do for kids. It's just by thinking about it, I get exhausted.
Exactly. And I know that having kids in your 40s is kind of a bit of a trend now, because a lot of us are going into relationships much later in life. So having children later in life. But I don't know. For me, I feel like this is my time. I know, maybe my whole life has been my time. But I feel like, if I had a 13-year-old now, I'd be like, I've got to do school things.
Yeah, and also 13, wow, it starts the teenage years where they're like,
they start resenting you. Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. And could you imagine, being 60? I mean, my husband's already 62. Imagine being like in your 60s and having some teenager slamming the door. Yeah, I never asked to be born. Yeah, for heaven's sake, And the rest of your friends are away on cruises because their kids have gone. They've left home and they're now at university. Which of course you're paying for.
Yeah, of
course. That's the other thing. So we're not paying.
Yeah,
for
because it's like one thing that came out often in this podcast is that you never know what kind of kid you're gonna get. You might have the most amazing one, or maybe you get like a psychopath. Who knows?
You don't. It's interesting because we have lovely next door neighbours, and they're not teenagers now; they're in their 20s. But we got to know them when the kids were in their teens. A brother and sister. The brother is just, he's like your perfect child. He went to university. He studied hard. Now he's got a job. Now the sister, and I love her. I mean, she's forever coming around to our house, but she's a very different kettle of fish, and still doesn't have a full-time job. Still doesn't really. You can see she doesn't know where her life's going, and she's in her early 20s now. And I think part of the problem was people kept saying, oh, look at your brother, he's the perfect, and that I think makes it worse, because her brother is held up as this, and then it's not fair, but he says my brother, so, and I love her, but I can see that she's very. She's hard work. I hope she doesn't hear this. But to be honest, I think she'd admit that she's quite hard work. But and yet they come from the same place. They grew up in the same environment, and it hasn't always been easy. I can see that they don't have a father around, and that. But completely different people, and if you're going to argue whether it's nature or nurture, how do you know? Because they come from the same place. And I think about, I've got 3 sisters and we're all quite different. And yet we all come from the same place. So, and that's partly why I didn't want to have kids, because of the place I grew up, So yes, to answer your question in a short way, totally my choice. Not unhappy with the choice, very happy with the choice.
Good. And my curiosity, so with your husband, did you discuss this before? Like, when did you...
Oh, very early on in the relationship. I was because I knew absolutely, and he was like, yeah, fine with me. Because by this time he was, I think when I first met him, I was 36 and he was 42. So he was already, and now of course men can have kids into their 70s, can't they?
I mean, look at, who's it?
Al Pacino.
That's right. Yeah,
they were like in their 80s.
His girlfriend's pregnant.
Yeah,
or something.
In their 20s or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's 50 years younger than his girlfriend. Yeah. But so I feel, I know it sounds mean to say, but I feel it's a bit unfair to children, really. Because then you're potentially not going to live to see them do all the things that they want to have their parents around for. And I mean, yes, if we'd had kids when we first got married, so Dan would be, I mean, Dan's 62 now, so I don't think he'd want a teenager. We're old. We like to watch telly quietly at night. We like to poop. We like to go days out in the car and go to look at antique shops. You can't buy antiques when you've got teenagers. We're going to sound like horrible, selfish people on this, but
that's the thing. I said, I think early on in our podcast, I said I don't want kids because I'm very selfish.
Yeah,
I like my freedom. I like to do the things that I want to do. I don't want to have a life where it's dictated by what you need to do to make their life
and
good.
I think if you have kids and you don't want them, that's selfish because it's not fair to the children, because even if you don't tell them, surely there's something in the air.
Either they will feel, or you will inadvertently cause some trauma they will have to unravel and work with for ages. So but also I think that it's not selfish to try and be happy, because that's what we're like. What makes you happy? Go on for shops and be free with your time. You can have an idea maybe with your husband and say, okay, let's go tonight somewhere. You don't have to worry, let's find a babysitter, or where is the kid, or is he home yet? You don't have to. Let's go holiday. You don't have to ask a teenager, do you mind visiting the temple of Greece, because we thought it would be good for your education. If you like to visit, you go there. You don't
have to go in July and August when it's most expensive,
when
full of other people's children.
Exactly.
So you chose your life, and if you're a happy couple, you're already doing something good for the planet, I would say, because we need happy people rather than grumpy families.
Absolutely. And I think grumpy parents and dysfunctional families cause so much harm to kids, which then translates to their adult life and then is transferred to their children. I read somewhere it takes 3 generations. So if you have dysfunctional parents, it's about 3 generations? That would be your grandkids.
I already broke that chain.
But
that's it'd be your grandkids that would be okay. Yeah. But that's because that's only if each person makes a conscious decision. Yeah. But then what happens, and I've seen this happen, is the other person makes a conscious decision to not be like their parents, and that goes completely the other way, and that causes harm as well.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, extremes are never good.
Exactly.
And it's good to be. I believe that one of the best things when you are child-free is that you really have to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
And make a responsible choice about your life. You have plenty of time, no excuse, because sometimes having kids could be an excuse. You just follow the peer pressure of other parents or the school. So I will go play football because everyone else is doing. We're gonna go there because everyone else is doing. We're gonna do this because everyone else is doing. When you are child-free, you are free. And sometimes people can be scared by this freedom to find your own happiness, your own path.
I mean, one thing that I noticed among friends who have kids, often their friends are the friends because their kids are friends, whether we can choose we really like, not because I need to go out with this so my kid can play with their kid.
There's a play date, so my friends are chosen by my kids.
And then so it becomes just a circle of parents of children all of the same age, all going to the same school. Because then their topic of conversation surely is
all the same.
The children.
It's checking on each other, parenting probably. Like, okay, how would you do this? Someone might be more open. Like, okay, I'll struggle. Someone might try to hide the problem. My son is a genius.
Yeah.
You never know. But may I also ask you, do people, because Romina and I, we are from Italy, so we grow up with this idea that we should have kids, and if we don't, somehow we are like,
there's something wrong with us.
Yeah, we're going the wrong direction, like someone trying to, to go up. But in this society, in your experience, did you have people pressuring you, your family or your friends?
I've never ever been pressured. I've never been asked what my choices were. I think it's not a very British thing to ask people those questions because, of course, there are some people who can't have children who want them, and that's quite distressing if somebody asks them. So I think we're quite conscious of that. Of course, I grew up in an Irish Catholic family, which is pretty much, it's the Anglo version of an Italian Catholic
with more rain, probably.
Yeah, exactly. With more rain and more beer. And I think because I'm not very close to them, I am conscious, so I've never been pressured because I wasn't that close to them, but I am very conscious that was the expectation. And I had a cousin who didn't get married until he was in his 30s, and he and his wife, to the best of my knowledge, never had children. I haven't seen them for like 30 years or more. They never had children, and members of the family would gossip and go, why has he not got children? Can he, and I don't know the story. It could I think the story is that one of them couldn't have children. Yeah. But coming from an Irish Catholic family, it's like, oh my God. Because, my mother was one of 8 children. Wow. My cousin, who's the same age as me, his first child must be nearly 40 now. I mean, he had a child when he was like 17, and I think he had 5 in the end. So it's, there was very much that thing that's what Irish Catholic families in. Of course, contraception we didn't talk about. I guess it's the same in Italy.
Don't you dare,
they know, but yes, they don't, they should.
It's a tricky topic, isn't it?
And in the 80s, I remember. I mean, I think Roddy Doyle talks about this in his novels about the Pope coming to Ireland, and of course everybody becoming more anti-contraception than any time before. So like I think it was 1983 where the Pope goes to Ireland. I'm sure it's in Roddy Doyle. Like 9 months after the Pope's visit, loads of children.
Oh my God!
In order to please the Pope.
Oh, we have to behave ourselves, and then let's please the Pope by breeding more. So this whole generation. But I mean, my whole extended family of cousins. I've got cousins I've never heard of or never met because each of them had 5 children, and it's just this huge family. So it is very much a Catholic thing. I think it's very much a Catholic.
So do you have siblings? So do they have?
Yes, I've got 3. I'm the oldest of 4, and the 2 after me, they both got 2 kids each. My younger sister, she's got 2 stepchildren, and that's it's always hard to be somebody.
Stepping in.
Yeah. And the older one of the two I know has sometimes said, "You're not my mum." But that child is living in her house half the week. She should be able to say, "That's not behaviour I put up." But of course the response is,
"Of course,
you're not my mum." What do you do? How do you do it? Well, you're under my roof. But then they go home to their mum and go, I just, my admiration for her for taking on somebody else's teenage children.
It's quite a baggage to
really
get in a relationship with someone who has kids from a previous marriage.
I mean, I still, my husband, to my knowledge, doesn't have any children. But even for now, I sometimes imagine somebody's going to knock at the door and go, "I've come to talk to my dad." And it'll be a bigger shock to him than to me. Because this stuff happens.
Absolutely.
So with the DNA testing now, even more
exactly.
like it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think you're right. But I sometimes I speak to people, friends who have kids, and they're so happy, and I can tell clearly, yes, this is their calling, not mine. I wouldn't be as I would be distressed the whole time if I only had even. I cannot even imagine. I'm just happy that probably for other people, our lives could be quite difficult to understand. So
sure. I read an article, it was about 20 years ago, by Faye Weldon, the author, and she wrote this. It was absolutely coruscating article about people who choose not to have children. And one of her arguments was, who's going to look after you when you're old?
That's the thing that always comes up over and over again, because in the end of the day, even if you have kids, it is not mandatory that they will look after you when you're old.
And I know lots of examples of people getting older and their kids didn't.
Sometimes their kids live hundreds of miles away.
And
Look at me, I'm here. My dad is in Italy.
Yeah, but you have the right to be here. It's not like now you have to live close to him. You're making babies, not carers. Otherwise, that's selfish, in my opinion. When I'm old, who's gonna? I don't know who's gonna.
And then they say, "But I looked after you when you were born." Yeah, of course I couldn't do anything.
That's the minimum job. It's like
if you had me, I'm this big. I'm vulnerable. I know nothing. It's kind of like a basic requirement you can look after me. But it isn't in a contract somewhere that now when you get, I have to look after you.
Yeah, absolutely. But because one thing that we talked about, I'm already thinking ahead, in the future, not having kids, especially being disabled for me is even more difficult. I already have in my head, obviously, my plan, what am I going to do? Do you already have a plan, or you just wing it?
I think I'm going to have to wing it. I was rather hoping that my nieces, that's terrible, because let my sister have the children, and then they get the nieces. But of course, they now live in New Zealand. So although one of them said she might come back and live here, not that I want her to, because that's selfish too. But I would hope that I would have a close enough relationship with them that one of them would be there for me if I needed it. But it's not obligatory, because just because we have the same blood, it's not obligatory. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. What I'd like to what I hope for myself is that I'm clear enough in my head as I get older to know when I need to, for example, move into sheltered accommodation so I can make it a choice. One of those blocks of flats where there's a warden. That's my hope, is that my brain is clear enough that I go, do you know what? I can't go upstairs anymore now. I need to be in a place where there's supervision. But none of us can anticipate.
No,
anything.
You never know. In a way, we all have to wing it.
I mean,
you can think about it, but
maybe
have to wait and see and hope for the best.
It's all we can do.
Or if you have enough money, maybe you could book yourself on one of those cruises that goes around the world, just to make everyone else.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I get sick.
Apparently, it's cheaper to book yourself in one of those than to live in a partial retirement.
And then once you're in a ship, you're everyone's problem.
If
you get sick, it's their problem. They cannot really dump in the
throw
water.
you overboard.
So you can ruin the holiday of thousands of people.
Exactly.
Just by feeling sick. I'm not sure. Today we might.
Yeah.
No,
We'll see.
There's a great Alexi Sale, Alexi Sale, the comedian,
Yeah.
has a great routine about that, about going on cruises and how you know if somebody's died on a cruise because they start giving out free ice cream because they need space.
Oh yes,
Oh.
in the cellar.
Oh, wow.
That's so funny. He's like, I haven't seen Jack for ages. This is nice ice cream. And it's because they need
Because
space.
they need
It's true.
There's space in the
Oh
my
freezer.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they do funeral at sea anymore. That would be and at 5 o'clock we will have a funeral at sea on the upper deck.
After which
Dress code.
the topless dancers.
Just before the raffle.
Yeah.
And dinner will be served.
As usual.
It's what he would have wanted.
Yeah.
Imagine you become viral at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I think we have
On this
come
light
to...
note of,
Yes.
of dying on a cruise ship.
That sounds like a plan. We have come to the end of this episode. I would like to thank you, Mel, for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a fun conversation.
Tell our listeners where they can see you or
Yes.
find you.
Oh, well, I have a website, melbyron.com, which is all about my speaker coaching work. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Mel Byron, obviously.
But what I want to say, if you have a chance, go and see Mel because she's brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Thank you both. As are you.
Thank you. So that's it for this
Yes,
episode.
if you have any question, you can write to us on nokidsnopain@gmail.com
Or you can find us on social media, No Kids No Pain. We are here. Just message us and see you next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.